Alright guys, in my last video I made this high elf shipyard right here. What I want to do now is I want to actually take this high elf shipyard and make it a little bit better. It's missing a couple things. I was kind of just like running out of time last time, so let's just do some tweaks on this guy. One of the first things I think we want to do probably is it would be nice if it kind of fit the profile a little bit better of its selection circle. I guess you can't even see the selection circle here in the editor, but it's a little bit like, you know, outside the selection circle in a way that even the Night Elf Shipyard isn't. So I was kind of thinking maybe we'd try to do that. Let's make sure we have the latest one. In fact, let's just restart for my tool here. We're just going to restart my tool. This should give us all the RAM, the memory RAM. Hopefully, we'll get back by doing that, and we'll just load it from the file. And that'll hopefully minimize the amount of lag that we experience while we're working. I mean, there still might be some lag, but hopefully it'll just be a little bit less lag. So, yeah, let's see where we're at there. All right, great. Looks like it started up, and that should mean then that should be able to open High Elven Docs version 6. So, as far as our plan, I think what we want to do is we want to have, okay, first we want to have a death animation. It doesn't have that. Okay. Well, actually, okay, we'll make that second. It'll have a death animation. We're going to fit it to size better. I don't think I want to make it any actually physically smaller. I think I just want to reorganize it to just fit in the circle a little bit better. And then we're going to give it a death animation. And then this probably, they'll make it pretty good. Oh yeah, the last one is it needs to have a portrait. And if we have time, maybe stand work. Right, if you guys noticed, the human shipyard over here has this stand work animation where it's got this big bright glow on it. The Night Elf shipyard doesn't have that. So it's really kind of just up to you whether you want your shipyard to have that. It's definitely not consistent. But I would think that we would be better off if it had something like that. So here we are with this. So what I was thinking is if we take these components that it's made of and we just scrunch them together a little bit, feel like we could make it a little bit better than it is and make it fit a little bit better to the land area, to like basically this circle that it's supposed to be inside of. So in order to do that, we have a couple things we want to do. Well, let's start with, we have these 4 wharfs, right? And that's that wharf, this is this wharf. So I was kind of thinking, what if we take this wharf and we actually rotate it back to here and then try to just make it a little bit less long, you know, and then we'll rotate it back to here. So that gives us the ability that now if we toggle on where this thing is, and I know it's got a little bit of extra over there, so, you know, even just like one of these we could toggle on, so you can see where I'm going there. This gives us the ability to manipulate that, which is what we want to be doing really. And that'll mean that this and this can move up and they can go right here. And already we're fitting it a little bit, so it's gonna fit in a smaller profile of size, hopefully there. Now, along with that, I would say we could probably move this house-shaped thing in a little bit. Even if its base intersects the base of the tower, having them just nudged up against each other is probably fine. So we should be able to go to this house thing, turn on all of its little house thing geosets, just like that. And I'm hopeful that'll mean that we can then go to select thing. Looks like we missed a little bit. Alright, there's a lot of components to select. We still missed a little bit. We got to get one over there and one over here. Okay, great. And now this is where I'm thinking we try to nudge it in there a little bit further so that it's just going to be buddied up right up against the other one. It's going to get us a slimmer profile to the overall area of this building. And it's going to mean that we're able to fit it within its given selection circle, hopefully. So we do that, and I think that's fine. Yeah, I'm trying to brainstorm exactly where we want that to go. I mean, even right there, is probably fine. And then we can move the boat a little bit and move the side wood a little bit. So, as well as that, I guess we also need to move this guy, which I think came from these geosets. So those are all on, so that's good. So basically this guy was originally supposed to be behind the house, so it'll just be like right behind that house. And then we should be able to move this last docks much more inward, in line with our changes there. But of course, this puts the rowboat in an awkward position. So we want to do something about our little rowboat there. Try to get the little rowboat to be more or less where you really want it. So to do that, we got to toggle on the rowboat. And the rowboat actually, I think, has some nodes to go with it, which does point out that the house had some nodes, I think, and I failed probably to move them when I moved the house. So that's a little bit unfortunate. We could probably go to try to like move those nodes in a little bit. I think they're supposed to just basically be inside the house. Hopefully that's not too botched there. But yeah, so those are like the house nodes. Of course, we don't even really have the house's death animation imported, so there's a number of reasons that that's not going to look quite like it does in what we imported it from. But that might be fine. So then if I go back to select by component group here, we select everything to do with this little boat, including, it looks like we're missing some little boat side thing over there. It's pretty good, but there's a little bit more in there. Okay, great. So now we got, I think, the entire boat. Oh, maybe not. Now? I don't know, it kind of looks like there's still whatever that is. Whatever that is, and whatever that is. I'm just curious if this is the whole boat or not. Right? So it isn't. There's still something there that's missed. That's inside the wall. So this tells us that we can't have that wall toggled on while we're doing this, unfortunately. Which just means we need to toggle that guy off. And it appears that when I toggle that guy off, it unselects everything, which is broken and not intentional. So I'm going to have to fix that. But here, let's select the boat. We'll drag it out in space. We'll toggle back on the wharfs. And then we can see the boat, and we can move the boat, and we can say, all right, where is this boat going to go? Because it doesn't really fit how we wanted it originally, right? Even if it's right here, like, it's just kind of strange. The oars are going into the walls, which doesn't make sense. So I guess the key to that is maybe the boat needs to be a little bit smaller. Maybe we shrink the boat. And that way, the oars would actually fit into the water, which I think looks pretty good. And now we have another problem with this boat, okay? The other problem with this boat is that even when we kind of fix that, and maybe we want to move it even a little bit further. Wonder if we want it out there. Does that look bad? Yeah, that looks less connected with the building. All right. So let's say we have our boat right there. The problem that the boat has now is that I don't think it's actually touching the water. So we want to make sure all that stuff touches the surface of the water. And the surface of the water is going to be the base plane. It's going to be this black line right here. So for that, I think we'll just toggle on everything. We'll just turn on every single thing in the model, and we'll select the entire file, basically. And we'll just lower it until the boat and all this other stuff touches the water. It should be right about here, I believe. And the tricky part is, can you see the boat, and can you tell if the boat touches the water? So to get even closer in on that, here's the boat, and no, it doesn't touch the water yet. It's actually a little bit above the water. So I guess you can also do Control A to select everything. That works too. And we'll just lower it a bit to more like here. So now we're sure that boat will touch the water. So I'm curious if we save this, even though obviously we've condensed it a little bit, and it's a little bit silly that the boat is no longer in front of the door, which was, I kind of liked having the boat in front of the door. But I'm curious if this will fit better into the selection circle than it was before. So let's try that. Let's see. Oops, wrong button up there. There we go. Night Elf Docks Shipyard thing, and we're gonna make it 7. So having done that, you know, it still doesn't exactly totally really fit to the profile, unfortunately. But I feel like it's getting closer, you know? And the boat definitely touches the water now, so that's a good advancement. But it is an interesting challenge that it still doesn't totally quite fit within the circle. I guess it's a lot better, though. I feel like it might be okay, at least for now. You know, that gave me an idea. And this is just a little bit silly of an idea, but let's try it. The boat on the Night Elf and Human shipyards doesn't bother to have oars. If we get rid of the oars, we could have the boat in front of the door, and we might even be able to move in this side thing a little bit. So let's try that. And it's just a way to continue to condense our model so that it really looks like it fits within the profile, right? It also looks like one of the levels of detail of the boat didn't move. And that's bad. So basically, if we change the level of detail, the 2 and 3 version of the boat did not move. And that is not intentional at all. I don't know how we managed that. So we got to fix that. All right. So this here is that level of detail of boat. And now what I'm going to do is just I'm just going to line them up. Because really, this should just be totally lined up. That's crazy to have those not be concentric. Making them concentric means that when you change the level of detail, and I'm not quite sure what part of the game actually actively changes the level of detail, or if it does, but aligning these should totally fix that. I guess they also need to be aligned over here, although that looks kind of like they are. So it'll never be quite perfect again, but for my purposes, I think it's probably fine. So that way, basically, when we go to these lower levels of detail, the boat is just still in the same place, even if we're on lower graphic settings. Okay, great. So now that we did that, my idea of getting rid of the oars, basically, is this way to like save some space graphically in our stuff here. So I think these are like the oar connectors. What all have I got there? Yeah, I've got most of it, but there's still a little bit more of a knot tied around the oars. So that's, I guess, this thing and this thing. And maybe even some more there. And some more there. Okay, great. And it even looks like there's still some more right here. Cool, so I think those are pretty much the knots tied around the oars. So if we get rid of that, right, that'll make our boat easier to fit. We'll fit it within that selection circle even closer. So now it's just a little boat like that, right? And now we could pretty much just put it directly in front of the house. So let me just select the boat, and then we're going to turn on the boat's nodes. We got all that selected, and then we should be able to bring back like an indicator of the wharf and maybe an indicator of the house. And that lets me know if there's the house and here's this thing. Where do I want the boat to be? I'm thinking I want it to be in front of the house's door. It just seems fitting. But it doesn't quite really totally fit there, as you can see. So I guess it's going to have to be a little bit offset. Whether that's forward, backward, or to the side, I'm not quite sure. That's definitely, that's not too good. I don't know. Yeah. Let's try over here, I guess. Still is clipping a little bit. So one of the other things we could probably do to reduce the clipping would be that we could actually shrink the other thing, but I don't know if we want to do that. That's an interesting question. Could just try to move it so it's not clipping. Yeah, that seems like we moved it so it's not clipping. That seems good. I'll bet even if we lower the graphic detail, it's still not really clipping. Yeah, okay. So you do that, and that's reasonable. And then this is kind of the part where I was thinking, do we want to also move this and everything connected to it? Just all of that, which is going to mean, I think this right here, which it looks like we already failed to move the wharf a previous time. So let's move it on top of its animation data that we were supposed to move with it last time. We'll move that back, and then I'm just kind of curious, how close can I get it, and can I make it line up? It's right about there, right about lined up with the wharf on the other flip side. Definitely quite close. Definitely looking pretty good. Still might be a little true that the wharf on this side was standing out, potentially. So, do we want that to somehow be made not to stand out? And does it look bad if we make it even closer in? Like this. Does that look okay? That actually looks kind of okay, right? You know, just kind of the Elven thing leading out onto the wood. They probably won't even see it because it's on the flip side. So yeah, we could probably do that. And I feel like that gets us closer to this goal where, although it's definitely a bit odd to me how these look off-center in this view and they look great in this view. Right? Or I guess they're not great. I guess they're off-center still, but they're pretty close to being centered. Okay, so like this needs to go like that to really line up laterally. And I was thinking that these nodes probably need to move. So this is just me forgetting to move them. And they're just better if we keep them pretty much centered how they originally were. Hopefully, along with that, that'll just make that thing still animate more or less correctly. Great, so this is all condensed in a little bit more, a little bit smaller profile. And now let's try to make sure it's totally centered. So we'll just make sure we got all the nodes, try to get everything there. And you can see we're hopefully getting closer and closer to being a centered guy. We could save that as High Elven Ducks Part 8. And we'll just see, is it even closer to the profile of the actual docks? As we continue to try to actually compress it. Fit the little profile. I mean, it's getting pretty good. I feel like it's getting pretty good, but obviously I apparently forgot to move this. Something went really wrong with that base. So let's fix that base. Geoset 9. Geoset 9 didn't move. Okay. My bad on that one. And I need a way to toggle everything else back on. Let's see. So I can see everything else and move Geoset 9 with the rest of this. So pretty much we just wanted to line right up with its counterparts. So it's like we were really close there for a second. Like right there. Okay, great. Now let me just replace that. Dock Part 8. It doesn't really look like that worked, so we can just go in here, I think delete something off the end of the path. That used to always be the way to do this, and then reload it, and it'll fix it. Cool. Put that back where that should have been all along. All right. So yeah, now we have our little building. We're a little bit closer to fitting the actual profile, and we're more right above the water with our docks and our boat. So everything's looking great in that regard. Now the next thing I think we probably need is a portrait, right? Portrait and a death animation. So the death animation, I mean, we already have a little bit of it, right? That it's already true that these docks sort of fall apart. But the rest of the stuff doesn't fall apart. Whereas like some of these other things, I guess the Night Elf Shipyard doesn't even have a death, so Blizzard didn't finish that one, but the Human Shipyard death looks pretty good. And all the stuff just kind of fades away. I haven't entirely made a good system to make things fade away that that human shipyard does. But we could probably try. The other challenge is the explosion, and I think the explosion is much easier. I would say to start, let's import the explosion from the human shipyard. So that one we should just be able to go to campaign and just choose human shipyard here, which I think should be that one. And we'll just import the explosion into the death animation. It might have a sound too. We could try to get the sound. All right, great. So we'll load this up and we'll just kind of leave most of the stuff, and then we're going to try to get death animation. I think it should be pretty good. And then we probably don't even need bones. We probably just want the sound. So this is sound here, and this is a spawn human death something. So it's probably the sound. It's probably like a big explosion looking effect on the ground or something. So mostly, I think we want human building death, probably. Shipyard death link. Put that in there. That sounds pretty good. And then we can try to look in this view. Do we want... I guess we probably want origin, overhead. It looks like it didn't have any of that. So we can go ahead and take those out of this thing, as well as maybe some of the like rally point sprites to try to make sure those all look good. So that, yeah, that'll help. That'll definitely help, I think. Let's try starting it out with that. Yeah. And one of the other things to do before I forget is on these things that have these death links, let's make them not visible in existing animations. That means they won't be visible in stand, because you don't want any explosions popping out of this thing in stand, right? So yeah, let's have that. And if we save this, it should be good. And now let's see in the editor if it works, but it should just make a giant explosion in the death animation, kind of like you'd expect from the human shipyard. But now our shipyard will do it. Let's find out. So we're going to actually go to part 9 here. Yeah, see? Now it already looks so much more like a death animation. You click on this, and you know it's stand, it's good, and then it's death animation, it goes boom, and there's this huge explosion. So the other thing we need to do on death, when we have that giant explosion, is make it sink into the ground and maybe see if we can have the tower fall over. So for that, I think one of the keys is probably just, if we just go into the little editor here, I want to say, I think we can still do this, that a lot of this stuff is probably linked to a lot of these different nodes. Like the root of this little building is one thing, and the cog of the little boat, and maybe like this little root, whatever that's for, and some of these joints. So actually the bridge, let's leave the bridge the same. It'll be fine. And then we have Silvermoon Archway, I don't even think is used. So yeah, basically just some of these, and what we're going to do is select all these, and you can see they have some nice animations in stand, and then if we go to death, they don't do anything. So I think the key is we want to have them starting at the start of death, where they are, and at the end of death, we're going to have them sink into the ground. Now, there's a problem with my previewer, so you won't see a preview of the shape sinking into the ground, but you might see it over here. Yeah, see, it just kind of sinks like that. I feel like that's a good, you know, it's just like a good rudimentary death animation, and there's going to be the huge explosion anyway, so it's probably going to look okay. I'm thinking maybe we'll try that in game, you know, and just see, does it look okay? Because I think it should. All right. So let me just put that on there, and we'll make some units so we can fight it in game. Let's see. Yeah. We'll see. Have we made our shipyard make a good, nice explosion in game? Got some milk. All right, great. So here's our shipyard. We're getting closer to fitting the little profile, just exactly how you'd want. It looks even more natural. Let's see. Yeah, so
to the high
we're just gonna get some of these dragon hawks.
Glory to the high elves.
We're gonna have them attack. Okay. Just one more dragon hawks. Great.
Glory to the high elves. Awaits. Ride the lightning. Glory to the high elves.
There we go.
Glory to the high elves.
Oh, that's an interesting one. So,
Awaits.
if I start burning this up, where does the fire appear, right? That's an interesting question. Because you know you want the fire to appear in a logical place. I guess it appears on the base of that building.
The sky is
So I think we
mine.
copied those fire locations in, so that's pretty much just in the center right there.
Ride like the wind.
I mean, that's probably okay, right? You can definitely tell that it's on fire, even if maybe it would be more logical if it was like the building that's on fire. We could probably tweak that.
Is mine.
So let's check how that death animation goes. Yeah. So I noticed a weird thing. Let me do that again. Did you guys see that? There was a really weird thing that happened. So, I happened to notice when it died that it showed the human
Glory
shipyard,
to the high elves.
which we can fix that. It's
quick,
because I
human.
was thinking the birth link that we included
Glory
was
to
for
the high
explosions.
elves.
But it looks like in Reforged, it's not just for explosions, it's also for the death, which must be a
Glory to
separate
the
model.
high
Stand
elves.
ready.
Oh, I accidentally made some archers.
I mark.
My powers are ready.
We really need just like a destroyer boat that would just smash that thing.
What? Yes, my lord. I can't do that.
Let's see if we can get mortar teams, they'll help.
Job done.
Yeah, get him. Boom, mortar team got it straight away. Yeah, so it does show the human shipyard while it's dying, which is a weird thing. So to fix that, all we need to do is actually go into the nodes and basically just delete death link, human shipyard death link. I thought it was an explosion, but it's actually not an explosion. So we're gonna get rid of that. That'll help a lot. And then I was kind of also thinking all these extra sprites that make fire should probably be on like the house, or some of them on the house maybe. I think it's first, second, third. It's like the first, second, and third fire that spawns in. So if I have the house here for reference, it's kind of like, should second and third fire be like in the house maybe, coming off the top, and then first could be in the center, maybe towards the tower, maybe fourth is like actually on the tower. There's actually the tower there, this big tower, right? Maybe fourth is like in the tower. I don't know. So that might move around some of the where the fire appears, and then the rally point is also nice to control. It looks like the rally point is already set to up there. I would kind of almost say, should the rally point actually not be over there? Maybe the rally point should be somewhere different. Let's see if we can get the rally point. It seems like maybe we could put the rally point on the little boat, you know? Kind of makes sense in a certain way. So yeah, we fixed the rally point. We may have fixed the death. And we can save that. Now we're definitely going to want to give it a portrait. So let's see if we can give it a portrait too. Now to give it a portrait, let's actually just open the original human shipyard. And we'll see how its portrait was done. And then we'll probably do that same thing. So let's check it out. It's just loading right up here. All right, great. Here's the human shipyard. Now, if I go to Window, Human Shipyard Portrait, it's probably the very same model, but with a giant, big picture behind it and a camera. So we should be able to do that the very same way. We just get a giant picture and a camera. So yeah, assuming that our model is good, we should be able to do that. And we'll just open up, we'll open up our model a second time. Is that going to close the portrait? Oh, that might close it. It used to be it would do that. I was trying to make it for resource. So yeah, okay. For resource savings, if you don't edit a model when you open a new one, it closes the one you didn't edit. So we're going to double-click Human Shipyard again to try to fix that, which of course will close the file we just opened. Really pretty an annoying system if you're not being careful with it. What we want to do is actually go to Human Shipyard Portrait. And here's the backdrop, and here's all that. You just drag select on anything, and then it counts as editing it. And then when you open the other one, it'll keep it open. You just have to click somewhere in the editor view so it knows that you were looking at editing that model. Then it'll no longer like just clear it out. So now we open this guy. Great. And what we want to do is just import from that human shipyard the backdrop, pretty much. Human shipyard portrait. We're just going to import the big background and the camera and stick that on there, which does kind of lend you to wonder, should we import the portrait and then just make one model? So Blizzard does this thing where they make two models, one for the portrait and one for the model itself. And maybe that's like a good optimization function, but I don't know if that's really necessary for us, you know? It's just kind of questionable. So yeah, let's do one model, actually. I already got this thing open. I'm going to click cancel on it. If we go to the animation editing thing, we can go to stand 1, and we can actually duplicate it and call it portrait 1. And this means that now we have a portrait animation, and the little boat will still rock, right? And then I can import now from the human shipyard portrait. And we can put the camera and we can put the background only in that animation. And that way we have a portrait animation, a stand animation, and portrait is the only time that the background shows up. And that way we can do it all in one model, even though Blizzard did it in 2 models. It's just a nice little thing we can do for ourselves there. We also need to verify in the human shipyard which geoset is the plane, because the texture previewer thing no longer really tells you. But it is still geoset 3. That's kind of like the classic style there, that it's just the bottom one. So we'll take geoset 3. We're going to time scale portrait right there. I don't think we need flag and boat. I think we can skip those. And I guess they have portrait lights now. I don't know if do we need the portrait light, right? I mean, that's a weird question. Like, why does this thing have these other emitters if it doesn't use them? That doesn't make any sense to me. So let's just only take in the lights to be these portrait lights and the camera. And then along with the lights and camera, let's actually tell this thing that the lights will never be visible outside of that portrait animation, right? Just like how the background will not be visible outside of that portrait animation. And then it's mad at me about something, which is concerning. I'm not sure what it's mad about. So we'll just see about that. I think that's fine. I think maybe what we need to do is just we can find this dummy node. We'll just delete it. It's probably in the center of space. If I toggle off the mesh here. Oh, that's broken. Looks broken to me. It brought in the human shipyard. Looks really broken to me. Let me just reload that. Or I wonder if it'll just stay jumbled up like this. Will it come back? Oh, it looks like it came back. And I think it's just loading. Yeah, okay, so here's our building. There's our stuff. There's our camera. Here's our nodes. And what I was going to try to do is just get rid of this added node. I don't think we actually need it. The auto generator added it. It was concerned about trying to fix a bug in our model, but there's not really going to be a bug. So let's just try saving that and see if the portrait looks good in game, having done that before anything else breaks. Let's try it. Version 12. So version 12 should now have a portrait and a death animation. Sorry, that was 11 again, which we don't actually need. 12. Yeah, there we go. Let's check it out. So here's my high elf shipyard, and I'm going to change it to be Shipyard 12, which is strange in that it looks much brighter. Which makes me really curious about some things in it, but yeah, sure. So then we save it, and we test it. And we see, does the death animation no longer show the human shipyard showing up out of nowhere? And does the portrait look decently good? My code doesn't have a really good way to preview the camera yet, so the camera angle will probably be not quite perfect, but it'll probably be something. Hopefully something better than what it was before. All right, great. What do we got? It didn't load at all. That's interesting. That's very interesting to me. Did not load at all. I want to look at why that is, because obviously if it didn't load at all, it might mean that something's just really not even the right file. Shipyard part 12 does have a portrait animation that you would think would be down here. Portrait 1. Somehow it doesn't load portrait 1. I don't understand why. The boat still rocks. So maybe I made it, it's like the old style of portrait. Maybe it needs to be made in a new way. And I don't know why. Which is strange. It's very, very strange to me, really. When we look at the human doc's portrait, obviously it has a portrait animation. But you have to wonder, is that portrait animation tagged with anything special? This is actually the same, like, file 12, right? It's file 12. If I open the file, does the file load correctly in my program? Is it what I think it is? Because that just didn't load the portrait at all. Let's try this drop down. Okay, it's lagging, it's lagging. Yeah, so in mine, it thinks that it's there. I wonder if it had multiple cameras, maybe that would do it? Oh, that would do it. Okay. So it has two cameras. One over here and one over there. And we need to delete this one. That's the problem. I guess I never made the delete button work on cameras, did I? That's just sad. Alright, so we're going to use the this other tool that exists, even though it's a little bit bad. It should work. It should be the tool that lets us get rid of the camera, because not being able to select the camera and push delete is just really stupid. I need to upgrade that. But this should basically open the import dialog as a way to edit all the components. It's a hack. It's a total hack, right? It should not be that way. But this lets us get rid of the old camera and use a new camera. And I'll probably fix it. Now the portrait will probably look pretty good. So, yeah, let's just, we'll call it version 13. It'll be great. Yeah. And we'll save that. And we can see how it looks. Let's see, High Elf Docs, part 13. And now it actually looks good in this viewer, because I guess it didn't have any lighting over there before. Who knew? Alright, map is still default, whatever. I don't really care. And let's test it. Let's see if it looks good. Does it have a portrait and a death animation in game now? That's the key. Alright. Oh, it's better, but not super better. Interesting. So the angle is still way, way out there. It's not really where I thought it would be. In fact, I think it's the same. It's almost like maybe I got rid of the wrong camera, which is just strange. Okay, well, seems like I should be able to make it the right camera, you know? So if we look at the camera, where's the camera relative to this background? And why? I guess there must be like animation on the camera to put it in the right place or something. Because it sure seems like it's the same here as in mine. And yet it isn't when we get in the game. So let's try actually editing that camera. And we're just going to put it closer up. Closer up camera. Just like right up there. And let's actually save that then. Try putting it back into the map. It won't look good, but it'll be closer up. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, so let me just replace model 13 and save. And we'll give it a test. Because, in theory, you would want that camera to be right up there so that it doesn't look all zoomed out like that. That was pretty crazy looking. I don't really know why it was zoomed out, but it was very zoomed out. I frankly don't think it moved, if we're being honest. I don't think it moved at all. And I'm really curious why not. I mean, what if we make it a totally and completely different view of the top of this tower, right? Like, you would know if that was actually the camera. It's like maybe the camera doesn't really use its setting for where it is. Maybe it uses a different setting for where it is that's not the one I'm editing. And that would just be annoying because it would point out that cameras don't do what I thought they do when I set this program up. Because obviously this should be looking at this little building top now. I just don't have the feeling that... Oh. I don't have the feeling that it's doing that. So let's try. We're going to at least try. Just see the little top of the building. Model version 14. We're going to import version 14 in here and save it. So this might have to do with maybe the camera uses the new bind pose information that my editor isn't handling very well from my, I don't really know if that's the case, but that would cause something like this probably. Because that information is probably just turned into junk data in my program. I'm probably storing it incorrectly. But let's test it and find out if we're remotely close to where we're trying to be graphically, or if I need to go make something that actually edits those bind pose things. Well, okay, it moved. Now we're on the little tower. All right, I didn't think that would work. So now we just need to zoom it back out and see the whole shipyard. Now, if only I could preview how it looked while I zoomed it back out. Okay. That's different than I expected. So it's not the bind pose thing. There's just some other thing that was just being trouble. And whatever that is, we probably just fixed it. So I guess now we just point this at the shipyard. Try to do something like that. And we'll save that. Maybe we'll even save as on that. As version 15. And let's make sure that we drag a box select in there to just make sure that it finishes writing all the binary on version 15. That was good. All right. I'm not quite sure what went wrong there. I'll have to do more tests later to make sure we get that right. Cool. Version 15 still has the lights, which it's strange that those are loading in stand because really they should only be loading in portrait. But we'll see. Yeah, let's check it at nighttime to make sure it doesn't glow. Because you wouldn't want it to glow. That'd be weird. Let's see what happens. Okay. Well, you know what? I moved the camera successfully, but I guess we're just a little bit low on it. So we probably want to pull that zoomed back out. Let's see. I wonder. Guess that's why they do something like this, and then move it out. Which points out like where it wasn't. In theory, might have been where you want it, maybe, but it just didn't look the same in game as like the human one at all. I don't know why it didn't. So there's 15, here's 16. And I'll drag a box, that's good. And let's import it. Guess I don't need to save like that. I used to always save after I import something out of a matter of habit. And I'm told you don't need to do it anymore, that they actually fixed the editor, so you can just import a model and then save it. Or import a model and then use it and then save later. But I got a ways to go to really do that correctly. All right, we'll close it here, we'll launch it there, and let's see. Loading it up. We are loading it up. Okay, great. Well, you know, it's getting a lot better, but it just looks like the camera's pointed a little too far upward. You can tell if we keep at this, it's going to be really good. But we definitely need to I need to get better technology for doing that. Definitely. But we're getting a lot closer to what we would want. So we'll just have to lower that camera a little bit to the side. Let's try blowing it up again just to make sure it looks really good. Let's see. We'll get one of
Glory to the
those.
High Elves.
More work.
Glory to the High Elves.
All right.
Yeah, we'll
Glory
get,
to
we'll
the
get those
High
mortar
Elves.
teams.
Job's done.
Great. Oh, they're attacking the wrong thing.
Let's get to fighting.
Don't do that. Attack this one.
Where do you want us? Let's get to fighting.
There we go. We're gonna blow that thing up. And can we just take a minute to look at how the fire has spawned?
The sky is mine.
So there's actually too much fire at the top of this tower. So I guess we need to put this fire that I was trying to put at the top of the tower when it's burning. We need to put that at the base of the tower, and that should be fine. So let's do that for a second here. And that's just sprite 4th, I think, which I raised it up thinking I'd put it in the tower, and it's not quite in the tower. But yeah, we'll just put it down here. So really, like, it'll look more like the tower's on fire, and not like there's fire nonsensically on the tip of the tower. Okay, great. So we got that.
Be quick, you
And then-
coward, knave.
We'll blow it up, it sinks in the ground, disappears.
Winds guide me.
Looks pretty good to me.
The sky is mine.
I think honestly that probably looks better than the Night Elf shipyard.
Oh,
Check this out. I'm curious if it's the same as what the editor showed me, although apparently we're in a bad place to shoot at it. Oh, it shot up a Night Elf thing. Okay. I guess that's its death animation.
where do you want us?
We'll do it in a jiffy.
Alright.
Wind
Well, so the
guide
Night Elf one
me.
exploded more than I thought it would.
Let's get to
I'll give him that.
Mobile.
Now, was there a crater on the ground from these guys?
Choice. It's on.
They just make a small crater.
Me too.
It's interesting, the Night Elf thing made a big crater, really.
Mobile. Show us a
Even
target.
if I shoot a lot of them in one
Where do you
place,
want
it
us?
doesn't make that big crater the Night Elf one made.
Let's
Okay.
get to fighting.
And then the human
Me
shipyard, I
too.
think, was looking really good, right? That this thing, when you blow that up, it has incredible animation. Somebody spent time making. Yeah. All right. Well, I think it's passable as far as the death animation. We just fixed that fire, and the camera's getting good. It just needs to be a little less up. Yeah, a little less up right there. Should really help out. A little more of just seeing the whole building. and maybe even a little bit more in this direction, something like that. Sure. So that's a good upgrade for us. The other thing I kind of wonder is, should it have a stand work, you know? Should we go in the animations, and should we duplicate stand, or should we make it stand work 1? Stand work 1, right? Because if we do that, then we should be able to make stand work have something fancy going on. I was kind of thinking it'd be cool if there was light coming out of the tower, you know, like an actual lighthouse. But then the question is, where do you get a beam of light? So for that, we're definitely going to want to have something that already has light on it, which I know the classic Ancient of Lore actually had some interesting light coming out of its little lanterns, but it's different now. The HD one has just a fuzzy glow of light. It doesn't have a beam. So you can't use that. Is there anything else that makes a beam of light? Well, what if we just get the classic Ancient of Lore's beam of light? I mean, it's a beam of light, right? So yeah, let's try that. In order to actually open that, I think we need to do open internal model. Go to the Ancient of Lore and then type in its path. Let's see if I can do that. Ancient of Lore. And then we want the SD one. So to do that, all we need to do, which also makes me question, can we mix HD and SD content in one model? I haven't really tried that before, so this will be interesting to find out. But here's Buildings Ancient of Lore, which is going to take a while because it's probably loading the HD one that has all the extra animations. Yeah, there you go. So there's HD Ancient of Lore. Now, what I'm proposing is that we do war3.w3mod / Buildings Ancient of Lore. Pretty sure that's how that's supposed to be referenced. It doesn't look like it worked. Yeah, I guess that doesn't work in my current build. Okay, I had a previous build of this tool that would let you do that. Looks like it doesn't anymore. So let's just actually go to, let's see, one of these things that I think had Reforged mod. Sure. I just need a folder that has Buildings Ancient of Lore in it. Buildings Night Elf, Ancient of Lore. And we get the Ancient of Lore from that. And we should be able to get a beam of light off of the Ancient of Lore. So this gives us, look at how fast it's suddenly going. Except that I guess this viewer is not. That's interesting. I'll have to do something about that. But yeah, this thing has these interesting beams of light attached. So what we want to just do basically is probably just delete everything except for one of these beams of light. And then, yeah, that's a beam of light right there. And then we want to copy that beam of light into the dock. So yeah, just file import workspace, Ancient of Lore, and it should give us just that light beam. And that should be nice. You know, before we do that though, here's another idea I had. Just to keep things consistent, let's go back to the Ancient of Lore, and let's mash our SD to HD button. Is that gonna work? Maybe that doesn't work. Maybe that's a bad idea. I was trying to think if we want to do that to make it, just make sure that it's all an HD model. I don't know. I guess not. I take it back. Let's not do that. Let's see what happens if we don't. I've never tried it before. Like mixing an HD and SD content in one single model. It might work, it might not. So we'll just import Ancient of Lore. We know what we want to do. We want to have a beam of light. import that. And we don't need any animation data from it. No animations at all. Probably no bones. And then probably no objects. So that should be good. And then visibility, it's just not visible in anything except what we import. And I guess we're just going to import into stand work. I wonder if we want, yeah, sure. And we'll do always visible in the imported animation just to make sure that works out how you want. So yeah, that'll basically bring it in. It'll make it do what you want. And it generated this matrix eater dummy node, which is fine. Actually, that's probably what we want. So we're going to use that dummy node, and we're going to combine that with this beam of light. We can even put it at the tip of the beam of light. And then we're going to put our beam of light into our building. So here is the tower. The key would be to make the beam of light appear to come out of the tower. So you do something like that, and then maybe we make it bigger, and something like that. I guess the end of it could be smaller, but we want to give it length, you know? So that it's up here, and it's like it's coming out of the tower. And I think that's just pretty much what we wanted to do. So you have this like beam of light, because it's a lighthouse, right? And then we're going to make stand work. Now it's blue because it came from the Ancient of Lore. We'll probably want to change that. But stand work, we're going to do a rotate function on it. So we're going to start here, and we're going to end here. But we're going to go around where every quarter or so we'll do a quarter turn. So it'll spin to there, and then it'll spin to over here. And then it'll spin to over here. So that way, if you see my intention, now I don't know if this is going to necessarily work how I intend, but if you see my intention, like you have stand, and then you have stand work, which is supposed to make this go around like the light from a lighthouse. But also, I think we probably wanted to go faster, so let's actually change animation length by scaling. Make stand work only 4 seconds long, so that it appears to be kind of like, you know, doing something like that. Now I wonder, should we actually make it like 2 seconds long? So it's just a really obvious beam of light. And the only other key I think is we want the beam of light to actually be yellow instead of blue. And to do that, unfortunately, right now, I think we need to save this to a text-based file and just go in there and fix it in the text. Because that's just where we're at right now. So we just go to the color. That's interesting. What if I go to geoset anim? Yeah, here we go. This thing's colored. That's what I was looking for. It's BGR, so yellow would be full-on red and mostly green. Okay, great. So now if we open that, Elven docs 18. It should be, it'll probably load stand, and then stand work, we should see the light. Yeah, there you go. It kind of looks like a lighthouse light, you know? So I don't know for sure if that'll work, because obviously this is, the light is an SD component in an HD model. So it might be really, really broken, depending upon how Blizzard made it. I accidentally clicked save. I meant to click import. 1 second here. We do an import, and we'll see how it looks. Does the game handle that? Can you do SD and HD content together in one file? I don't know if you can. I mean, if you can, it's like a tribute to Blizzard's programming. Oh my gosh, it actually worked. Look at that. It actually loaded. It means basically that Blizzard's programmers are geniuses and allowed us to merge HD and SD content together in one model. Just to make sure, let's try it in the game, and in order to see that, we're going to need to be able to make this thing train units. So let me actually give this building, instead of units trained, we're going to copy that out of there, put it under, or units sold. We're going to train that, and what's human destroyer ship? Okay, and what's If human destroyer is human frigate, what is human battleship? That's probably H-bat. Okay. H-bat? No, it is not. Alright, what is human battleship? Human battleship is BSH. Okay. HBSH. Great. So now I can build human battleships, which will also help us test setting on fire and all that, because they'll probably good at smashing buildings. So we save that, and we'll start it up, and we'll see, how does it look? How does it go? Is it good? I think it should be good. I think it should be how we want it to be. Let's find out. I guess I haven't seen the portrait in a while after we changed it, too. I don't know how that's going to be. It seemed like every time I changed it, it was never quite right. We really need a better portrait editor tool. Yeah, it's still not quite right. Okay. So the portrait, we're going to want to... I want to do something with that. Probably, like, move it out a little bit. Something. Okay, so I moved the portrait camera out, further out in space than where it was. But let's try everything else.
More lumber is required.
Okay, so I need more money. And yeah, let's try it. Yeah, there you go. Look at that. It actually loads HD and SD in the same model. Because, I mean, I copied that off the SD thing, right? Alright, well, that's interesting if this has a number with no value. Let's make another battleship. Yeah, look at that. So it has stand work where you have this light spinning around. And then if you beat it up, the little buildings are all on fire. I mean, that seems pretty reasonable, right? And then you blow it up, it sinks into the ground. Yeah, seems great to me. We'll double check that portrait, and if the portrait's good, I'd say we could call it done. Version 20. Let's see, import version 20. And see where we're at with that. I forgot to tag this as 20, which I could have done before saving. Oh, then we should do the night test to finish it off to make sure it doesn't glow at night, because I put in lights that are supposed to only function on the portrait camera and they're not supposed to function otherwise. We want to make sure that that's really true. It should be, though. It should be true. So right now we're just looking at the portrait, and if the portrait's good, we can do the night test. Or if the portrait's even half decent, I'm hoping it'll be pretty good. But it's been kind of shoddy. My portrait editor, I'm just dragging around the camera in a little 2D view. It's not great. Yeah, so I mean, this would be a good portrait if it was just a little bit further out, right? Like, just a little bit further out. Okay, what about the night test? Yeah, when I make it night, this thing doesn't seem to be glowing. It doesn't make the center of the map glow either. Yeah, it seems good.
More lumber is required.
Let's see. Yeah, there you go. And you even got the little light spinning on the lighthouse, so you know it's your lighthouse. Yeah, and it's got a little bit of fire on there. Seems pretty reasonable to me. Let's check that new portrait, because if the new portrait's good, it looks great. We just got to get a new portrait tweaked up there. Let me save that as version 21. I accidentally saved it as version 20. Well, sure. Let's just import it as version 20 then. It'll probably tell me you can't do that. It's already in the map. All right, great. So we'll just replace it. We'll just replace that there. And then let's actually rename it 21. Just so we're like sure that it reloaded it, you know? Is there something funny going on with that portrait earlier? All right, great. Then we save, then we test, and hopefully it'll be good. All right. It's better, but it's not perfect. You know, I feel like we want to see the tip of the tower, probably. Maybe like that. And we save it again. And we test. It's better, but it's still imperfect. It just seems like it should be... It really feels like I'm remaking it to where it was when I brought it in, which is weird because when I brought it in, it didn't look right. You know, there's something about that that doesn't make sense to me. Aren't there still one camera, not two? Yeah. So, we got that. I also wonder if it even moved at all. Maybe it didn't move at all. Maybe it doesn't work to do a replace. Let's save it again as 22 and be totally sure that it reloads the file. You know, because maybe suddenly I'll be really far out. Let's see. We got file 22, and I should have assigned that to the unit. Okay. So now we have that on there. And we're close. We're really close. Hopefully it's just going to work. Pretty good, right? I feel like that's fine for now. You know, you look at it and you see it there with the little house and the other thing. Obviously, it could maybe move to the side a little bit. But, yeah, it seems fine. And the boat's still kind of floating up and down. Yeah. Seems fine. So, there you go. High Elven Shipyard, and I would say now it's actually like about done. And you got rally point on it looking good, right? That you can actually like just rally point. And it just sticks it to a reasonable location on top of that little boat there. Or you can even rally point to that dock. That's pretty interesting. But yeah, in general, we even got our rally point location. So I think we basically covered all the bases. That was an interesting flash of light I just saw there. I hope that wasn't the camera of this thing. Wait a second. If I set it to 0 nighttime, does it emit light when you don't expect it? We need 12 seconds of the boat floating. So we're sure it doesn't suddenly emit light. Alright, High Elven Shipyard. How are you doing? And for anybody who's worried that it looks like a Blood Elf Shipyard because it's red, that's just player color, right? So if I just change this to be, it looks like it hasn't emitted any crazy light. If you just change it to be a blue player, now it's a blue shipyard, right? It's got player color on it. It's pretty much how you want. It's kind of like these, you know, you change them and they'll change with the player. So, yeah, there you go. I think that's good. I think we have tweaked the shipyard to the point that someday when the Hive Workshop lets you upload models, we'll just upload this as a Hive Workshop building model for Reforged.